it's safe and the sun is out. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it. Before we get super carried away, I think that it is only right that we continue by lighting another little ghost candle because they're so cute. We're gonna name this one Gerald. Hello, Gerald, and thank you for joining us this evening. So our first story that I'm gonna be reading is about someone seeing the devil in their dreams. Freaky, I know. And this one caught my attention because I had a dream when I want to say middle school, high school, where I saw the devil, and it was terrifying, to say the least. So without further ado, I've never had realistic dreams, and I usually don't even remember them. But some time ago, I had this horrible dream. It was very real, and even when I woke up, I thought it was real. In my dream, a scared stranger enters my room through the window. He screams and he begs for help. He tells me that something is chasing him and he doesn't want to die. When I calmed him down and let him out through our front door, I heard a strange noise. I turned around to locate the source of the sound, and when I turned back again, the man was gone. The sound repeated, and then I saw an open gate on the other side of the yard. Something came in through that gate. It was a naked man with the legs and the head of a goat. No thank you. Despite the street lamp shining right at him, I couldn't see anything but a black figure. It was as if it was made of a shadow, but he was very material, like it was a physical form. Definitely was not a shadow. I felt the ground tremble under his hoofs, and I could not move. Tears began filling my eyes, and after a while I came to my senses and ran home. My grandmother practically pulled me inside. She closed the door and knelt beside the door, and she told me to do the same. In this position, we began to pray. And as we prayed, something was knocking and scratching on the other side of the door. When I woke up, it was really hard to breathe, and my face was wet with tears. I don't think it's just a dream. I think it could have been more than that. Do you think it could have been a possession attempt? I mean, that's actually a really good question. What do you think? Do you think that it was just a dream, or do you think that it was a potential attack on this person's spirit, on their soul? Are we talking spiritual warfare here? I mean, this story really, really freaked me out because mine is very similar, and I want to say it was like early high school. I had this dream, and in this dream, I was home, and I was home with my brother, and my staying in here. I don't know what's going on. And at this point of my dream, I began to get visions, like inserted, like cutaway shots, if you will, of the faucet in the backyard. And the faucet is dripping water. So in my dream, begins to go back and forth between this faucet and between these big chicken feet that I'm seeing. And as my vision began to cut back to this faucet, the water that was dripping from the faucet began to actually look like blood. Blood began dripping out of this faucet. And I look back and then I still see that this chicken is outside, and now I see that my brother is outside. And I'm calling to him because something is wrong. And my vision pans back and I see, and I'm not seeing this, I'm seeing this weird insert shot, like I'm getting this vision of the faucet in the backyard. And something else begins to come out of the faucet. Feet begin coming out of this faucet, and obviously there's no physical way a foot could come out of a faucet, but it begins to expand as it's coming out. And I freak out because now I have these blood-soaked feet are coming out of the faucet, and so I called my brother to come inside because it's not safe. And I can't get him to come in. And the feet begin to come out farther and farther, and something is coming. I run into my parents' room and I tell my mom there's something going on. And my brother's in the backyard, you have to get him. And these feet are coming further and further out. And I run back to that window to see that my brother is safe. And at this point, the chicken feet are gone. My brother is nowhere to be seen. But now, where the chicken feet once were, there is a naked figure. And this naked figure had feet that didn't quite represent a goat, but they were shaped almost more like Barbie feet, if that makes sense. This figure was naked, it was covered in blood, and had long black hair, and it was facing away from me. And it was just covered in blood. And it began to turn around. And before I could actually see its face, I woke up. And when I woke up, my face was face down in the pillow. And I was sobbing uncontrollably. Which is just kind of weird because this person also woke up crying. I ended up at one point drawing it, and I've tried to find that notebook. It is lost somewhere at my childhood home. But I remember that I had to draw it because I had to get this thing out of my head because it haunted me for a very long time. So what do you think? Do you think that dreaming about things like this could actually be something trying to possess you? I hope not. But if it was trying to, I guess it just didn't work. So joke's on you. Now I don't want to taunt the devil, but weird, right? Our next story, we might as well continue on this creepy path. But we're going to continue talking about demonic activity because this is a scarier story time. So this one is titled Possible Demonic Activity Currently Ongoing. Hi. Ever since I was a child, my mom talked about how I would speak with spirits and ghosts also experienced the same, and her mom, and it goes on and on with the women in our family. I've talked to relatives that have passed on along with seeing an apparition of them. My grandmother has since ignored it until I asked her about someone who claims to be her brother, and talks about very harsh family details. Sometimes his spirit is active from 4 a.m. onward, but it also refuses to tell me a name. So the backstory is I live with my grandmother and have had this issue for a while with this one thing, I guess I should call it. At first it was only appearing in photos, but now it's making the energy of the house feel very heavy. Whatever it is, it stays in the basement bedroom, and when I go down there, it bangs on the door and tries to turn the door handle, and at night something growls and in a deep voice goes, "Hello." I'll hear breathing in my room sometimes, and my dogs, I've got 3 German Shepherds, they refuse to go into the basement and refuse to go into my room. I feel so angry all the time, and it follows me out of the house. I can tell because my eyes get watery, I feel heavy, and I get goosebumps along with just the feeling of something constantly behind me. I would not stay in that house, I'm sorry. There's no freaking way. It hasn't really bothered me until it decided to mess with my Nana. And ain't nobody gonna mess with my Nana. They didn't say that, but that's how I would feel. My Nana is a sweet lady that doesn't need any issues with the paranormal. Well, the other night, she woke up with a feeling of being choked and seeing something standing above her bed. She closed her eyes and she said the Lord's Prayer, and it went away. She had me go downstairs now to the laundry to fold the clothes and clean up, which I don't mind, but she's way too afraid to go down there herself. Well, I guess I messed up pretty bad because I finally saw the apparition in the daylight. Oh, no. That's why we're doing this in the day, because I don't want to see anything. just like in a horror movie, right when they were about to give up, the freaking thing worked. Out of nowhere, the slightly cracked door to the bedroom just opens up in one fluid motion. There had been no wind, no breeze for hours, and I felt a cold breeze surround me as the ceiling fan and light and the rest of the power in the room just shut off. The light was on the dimmest setting because we only had 2 candles. And then the candles swayed as if someone sat down next to them, and the cursor began to move. They just stood there in shock, like, holy shit, what have we done? And all the hairs on our bodies stood up. But they continued. If something comes to sit down and this thing's moving by itself, you got a lot of cojones, dudes, to continue with this. They began to ask questions. Are we speaking with someone? Yes. What is your name? T-S-S-T-S-S. Are you dead? Yes. When did you die? 8, 6. How did you die? As soon as the board began to make a figure 8 motion, they just lifted off the cursor and said, goodbye, we're done. We pooped ourselves. The biggest surprise was, despite being terrified, I slept quite well that night, knowing once and for all that Ouija boards work in their spirit life after all. And I read something about, like, working in figure 8s, that sometimes that might mean a demonic force is there, or it might mean that the spirit doesn't know, or they're trying to figure out how to respond. But I'm good, thank you. Okay, how about another one? This one is kind of weird. I live in Mexico, and when I was 16 and in high school, my friends and I used to play with Ouija boards almost every day. Sometimes we would even play at the cemetery. But one time we were playing with it, and it began to move. And it said, Anna Mato Toto, which translates in English to Anna killed Toto. And it said it over and over again. We did not know what this was about, so we ended the session. On Monday, when we went to school, we were talking about it, and one of the girls in the classroom began to cry uncontrollably. And we asked her why she started to cry. She said that her cousin just had an accident. She said that Friday night, her cousin and his girlfriend had a fight over going to a party that he didn't want her to go to. And at the end of this argument, she ended up going to the party anyway. Whoa. You'll understand why hearing a car screech was weird after I finish this story. At the end, she went to the party, but she lied to him. He found out, and he went to the party, and he surprised her there. Not good. They had a huge fight, and he left really angry. And unfortunately, he crashed his car. He wrapped it around a lamp pole just around the corner. The electricity lines got cut by the crash and ended up on top of the car. And as he went out of the car, he electrocuted himself. His name was Toto, and the girlfriend's name was Anna. Anna is real. She was at another school, and we know her, but we never talked about it with her since it would be really off cuff. But we didn't know about the accident until Monday at school. What? And then as I'm telling the story, we hear a car screeching. Like, I live by a road that gets kind of busy, but it's still not a very, busy road for the most part. And it's a windy road, so that actually kind of freaked me out. I don't know who would be screeching around or where they could be screeching.